Hello and welcome. My name is Jimmy Knott, and we're going to do a study on leadership. It's a subject that I've been a passionate student about for more than 10 years, last decade of my life, and in reading and interviewing and learning all that I can about this fascinating and important and compelling subject of leadership. Let me tell you a little bit about me. As I said, my name is Jimmy Knott. I'm one of the pastors at First Baptist Church of Orlando, Florida. It's been my privilege to serve here since June of 1980. For the last 10 years, one of my responsibilities, along with being the teaching pastor and then the assimilation pastor for new adult members, is also leadership development. It's been my joy to have coached between 200 and 300 people related to the subject of leadership. It's been a combination of folks who are in the marketplace and helping them to be more effective as leaders, and then also those in ministry related, vocational ministry related as it comes to the local church. It's been a subject that has been at the same time rewarding and challenging in my life, but I've enjoyed it. I believe it's had as much impact on my journey as a child of God and as a leader, as a husband, as an employee. It's affected every facet of my journey. Specifically, in our time together, we're going to do a study on being a leader worth following. Be a leader worth following. My goal is for us to do 12 sessions. Each of the sessions will be somewhere between 20 and 30 minutes each. I believe you're going to find the material to be very simple, to be practical, to be biblical, and to be proven. As I said, the material I'm teaching you, I've been investing in folks for the last decade. And you're getting the results of years and years of study and experience in our time together in order to become a person or a leader who is worth following. You see, we need to understand there's a big difference in having a following and being worth following. When you have a title, when you have a position, whether it's in the marketplace or let's say a husband and a father or parents in the home, you have a position, you have a title. And in essence, you have people that are responsible to you. But having a position, having a title, doesn't necessarily mean you're worth following. We want to be folks who are worth following. We want people to follow us because we deserve the following. My objective in our times together really is twofold as a teacher and as an exhorter. As a teacher, I want to help you to have a better understanding of what biblical, authentic leadership looks like and how it acts. And then as an exhorter, I'm going to challenge you to live that kind of a life, to be a person, to be a leader who is worth following. I really believe it's going to be a great study. It's a product, as I said, of more than 10 years and more than 250 folks that I've had the privilege of investing in. And I'm looking forward to a great study together in being a leader worth following. In this first introductory lesson, I want to approach it by asking and answering three very pertinent, critical questions about the subject of leadership. First question has to do with current reality. I want to ask you a question that I've asked hundreds of folks over the last decade. And here's the question. What words would you use to describe the general condition of leadership in America? Across all venues, whether it's in the marketplace, whether it's in the world of academia, whether it's in the political realm, the local church realm, just across all vistas, what words come to your mind when I ask you to describe the general condition of leadership in America? As I said, I've asked that question to hundreds of folks, and I'm just going to parrot to you what I've heard over and over and over again. These are the words that I've heard. Weak, void, dismal, corrupt, self-absorbed, self-serving, self-promoting, over and over, politically correct. Over and over again, I've heard those kind of descriptive terms to describe the general condition of leadership in America. Back in 2010, the Center for Public Leadership out of Harvard did a study about leadership in America. And the result of that study was 70% of the American population believes there's a crisis in leadership in our country. I couldn't argue with that. Across all venues, there appears to be a crisis in leadership. And unfortunately, I'm not sure the local church is doing a whole lot better. Recently, the Barna Group out of California, who probably has its pulse on the impact of faith and the spiritual community in our society as much as any organization. And I read some startling statistics about the church, the local church, and its leadership. Let me share them with you. Only 1 in 20 church leaders, 1 in 20, that's 5%, believe they are gifted to lead. Gifted to lead, 1 in 20. And then perhaps more startling to me is when church leaders are asked, what role does leadership play in their responsibilities? Right at 75% say that they do not feel that leadership is one of their primary responsibilities. Now, I believe it's important to preach and to teach and to pastor and to care for the flock. But one of the most important responsibilities is that the shepherds in the church, both whether they're vocational or even volunteer lay leadership in the church, at some point you've got to provide leadership. So I'm not sure that the church is really faring any better than the marketplace is, or the political arena, or the educational arena, or the sports arena, or anywhere else. Poor leadership is everywhere. Now, before I move on to the second question, let me say this. I know, and you know, because we know them, there are some really good, there are some really great leaders out there in all those venues. But we don't hear about them. You ever thought about why? I think there's some reasons for that. I think one is when you live in a world where the bottom line is dollar, what sells for the media is being critical and being negative. Being critical and being negative. And we don't hear about those people who are providing effective leadership, difference-making, worth-following leadership, because that doesn't sell. We hear about those who have been in places and had titles of leadership who fell, who didn't get the job done, because that's what our society and our culture tends to want to see and to read. I think a second reason is I think the marketplace generally is geared, again, toward negativity and critical. I mean, when you look at a lot of performance reviews and looking at someone doing their job and not doing their job, we tend to be critical and negative more than they're doing a great job. But maybe the most profound reason that we don't hear about all of these good and great leaders that are out there, and I believe there are out there, is because most leaders who are effective, most leaders who are worth following, if not all, are humble. It's not about them. It's about taking care of business, investing and adding value in the people that they're privileged to influence, and those who are choosing to follow them or even have to follow them, and making a difference in their lives. And they just go about taking care of the job and taking care of business, seeing the vision come to reality, and they're humble. They're not bragging, they're not tooting their own horn. Now, at least from my perspective, those are some of the reasons why we don't hear about all of the good to great leaders that are out there in our society and even in our local churches. So, first question is, how would you describe the current condition of leadership in America? I think generally speaking, we would say it's weak, it's dismal, and it's poor. The second question that I want to deal with is, why is leadership, just the concept of leadership, why is it so important? I mean, why am I taking these minutes and these 12 sessions to talk about this subject? Why is so much being written, so much available on the internet when it comes to the subject of leadership? What is it that leaders bring? What do they bring to a family? What do they bring to an organization? What do they bring to the local church? What do they bring to an institution that if we didn't have leaders, it wouldn't be provided? it would be missing? Well, I've asked that question over the years to dozens and dozens of folks. And here are the answers that I hear. Leaders are responsible to provide vision, direction. They're responsible to provide motivation, to build teams, to give support, to be sure that vision becomes a reality, to hold people accountable. All of those things are important. But you know, in thinking about why leadership is important, there's one thing that I think leadership brings that we would be missing that's critical to every one of those issues, and that's this: increased effectiveness. You see, what it boils down to is this: everything is about leadership. John Maxwell says everything rises and falls on leadership. And he's right. And he's right. Everything rises and falls on leadership. I have a talk on leadership that I entitled, It's All About Leadership. And I opened that asking the audience, when you look at the title, It's All About Leadership, what's it's? What's it's? And they'll begin to name, well, you know, family and work and this and that. And before long, just about everything's been named. Because everything is about leadership. Leadership doesn't just make a difference, it is a difference. It is the difference. You see, in some way, form, or fashion, we are all leading. Whether we ever have a title, whether our name ever shows on an org chart somewhere, we're all leading. I mean, let me ask you a few questions. Do you want to be a better person? Do you want to add value and make an investment in your family? Do you want to make a contribution where you work? Do you want to add value and make a difference and to better your family and your friends and your coworkers? My guess is the answer to all those questions is yes. Well, anytime you're trying to add value, anytime you're trying to improve the attitudes, the behaviors, the belief system, the development of anyone else, you're assuming a role of leadership. Now, the real issue, or the real question is not, am I leading? We all are to some degree. Here's the more important question. How effective am I at leading? It's all about effectiveness. And that leads me to the third question. What do I need to do to be more effective as a leader? How could I position myself as a person and a leader to be someone who is worth following? That people don't want to follow me because they have to, but because they desire to follow me. How can I be more effective? Well, I want to show you a graph. I want to show you a graph. Now, on the vertical axis, that's all about the ability to lead. That's someone's leadership capacity. On the horizontal axis at the bottom, this is someone's commitment and dedication to success. It's their effort. And let's say both of those run on a scale of 0 to 10. 10 being maximum in terms of leadership ability and in effort and commitment and dedication to success. And imagine with me for a minute that when it comes to leadership ability, your leadership capacity, that you're operating at a 1. You're operating at a 1. But let's say on the horizontal axis, where it's your hard work, your effort, your sacrifice, your commitment, and your dedication, you're an 8. You're an 8 out of 10. And let's imagine where those two areas meet, that measures the level of your effectiveness. The level of your effectiveness. Now let me ask you this question. What do you need to do to increase your effectiveness as a leader? Well, you really only have two options. Number one, you can work harder. I mean, look at that bottom axis. You've still got 2 units to go to get to 10. You're at 8 to get to 10. You could work harder. You could sacrifice more. You could give more effort, more time in order to be more successful. Here's the problem. The older you get, the harder that'll be to give more time, energy, and effort, because you simply won't have the energy to do that. But even if you're young and you have the fortitude and the energy to do that, can you sustain a 9 or a 10 in dedication and in effort over the long haul? Probably not. I'm not sure many could for a long period of time. But if you could increase that dedication, you could improve your effectiveness. But what if you improve and increase your ability to lead? What if you become more of a worth-following leader? What if you increase that capacity? What if you work smarter, as it were, rather than working harder? And let's imagine that through study, through practice, that you increase your capacity to lead, your ability to lead. And then we move you from a 1 to a 5. 1 to a 5. We've increased your ability to lead 500%. And yet we've only moved you to average, mediocre, at a 5. But we have increased your capacity to lead 500%. And all we did is help you to have a better understanding of what leadership is that's worth following and what leadership does that's worth following. Let me give you a principle based on this graph. Very important. Your effectiveness, your influence, your capacity to succeed is dramatically impacted by your ability to lead more than anything else. And one of the goals of this study on being a leader worth following is to help you and me to have a better understanding of what leadership worth following looks like and how it lives and how it serves others. Andy Stanley. Andy is one of my heroes when it comes to the subject of leadership. One of my favorite books, he wrote back, I think, in the late 90s, The Next Generation Leader. He made this statement about leadership, and I think it's so important. Listen to these words. The more you know about leadership, the faster you grow as a leader, and the farther you will be able to go as a leader. The more you know, the faster you'll grow, and the farther you'll be able to go as a leader. That's really what these next 11 weeks are all about. Do you want to be a leader worth following? People allowing you to invest and to influence and to be a difference maker in their life? That's what we're going to talk about for the next 11 sessions, each of them 20 to 30 minutes in length. Next time when we get together for session 2, we're going to go to the Scriptures, we're going to go to the Gospels, and we're going to look at the life, we're going to look at the teaching of Jesus. And when we finish session 2 after next week, we're going to get a working definition of what leadership worth following looks like and how Jesus best described it. It's going to be a great study. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you next time.